in over my head, shutting up and accepting help.
Hi everyone, my name is Liana, and I am a perfectionist. And every person who has ever seen my room is now thinking to themselves, Liana, I have seen your room. To which I would say, what makes me a perfectionist is not that I am organized, I am not, or that I shower every day. I wish I did. I don't have the time. I should. What makes me a perfectionist is that after this talk, MTL could walk into this room and say, Liana, this was the best speech I've ever heard. Here's a 10-foot tall trophy. You are now the president of Stanford. And I would still walk back to my room and be making a list in my head of all of the things that I had done wrong and I could have done better. And the story that I am theoretically going to talk to you about today is one that happened on August 27th this past year, when I woke up upside down in a car, in the backseat of a car, suspended by a seatbelt on the side of Georgetown Pike. But the real story doesn't begin there. It starts when I was a lot younger. It starts when I was when I was 7, and I started sneaking into my art teacher's class to look at her lesson plan to see what we'd be drawing next week, because I couldn't bear that I was so bad at art. And that Ava always drew better trees than me, and that Lauren always got the faces so much better than I did, and I wanted to practice. I never beat Lauren. Lauren's at art school now. Lauren's very good at art. But it also continues when I was in high school, and I didn't get out of bed for a week during my junior year, during my spring break, because I was so depressed, because I felt like I was failing every single thing in my life. 6 months later, I knew that I wasn't, and I knew that I was coming to Stanford University. And with that, all of these different expectations started building up as well. And so there I was, a year later, upside down in a car, with all of these expectations about Stanford that I knew immediately I would have to change. Because in my head, when I came to Stanford, I was going to get an A+ in Math 61, because I should. Because I came from TJ, a smart school, where I had been taught these things, and I was a math person. And I thought that I'd come and I would be not the best person on the fencing team, but I would be the hardest working, and I would be there every morning, because that was something I could do, and if I didn't do that, I would be a failure. And I thought that I'd come and I'd meet my roommates, and they would become my best friends, and I would love everyone, and I would get along with them, because I could do that, because that was something I had in my control. But there, upside down in that car, I lost all of that control. And so then I came to Stanford, and about when I got there, I was diagnosed as concussed, and I couldn't, immediately the first thing was taken away from me. I couldn't be on the fencing team for that quarter, and that was a part of my life I just gave up. And I was concussed, and I found out pretty quickly I couldn't read or think. And it makes it somewhat harder to do well in Math 61 when you can't read or think, shockingly enough. So I had to drop that class. And with this concussion came back some things I had dealt with a lot in high school: the anxiety, the depression, the panic attacks. And so here's my brain, concussed, already not able to think, but now anxious and getting panic attacks. And when you're anxious and you've just met this whole group of people that is now sitting in front of me, it's really hard to walk up to your roommate and say, "Hi there, I'm Liana. Oh my gosh, you like pink too. By the way, if I get panic attacks, swaddle me and make sure that I am eating and hold me until I am fine. Also, I like One Direction too. How are you?" You can't really do that. So I just stopped and didn't tell these people how I was doing. And then there was the PTSD that was happening because I couldn't go in a car without wanting to throw up. And then there was the migraines that came because my brain's kind of a fart sometimes. So my brain started to have migraines, and I ended up in the hospital, in the ER, getting treated for that. And I, looking back, even now, have a really hard time saying that I was not okay. I was not, because to say that you're not okay is to admit imperfection, and I don't like doing that. That is something that makes me uncomfortable. But I had to do it, and so I did it. I started telling people how I was doing. I started going to therapy. I'd been to therapy before. Therapy's great. I'm very passionate about therapy. Everyone should do therapy. Totally unsolicited word for it. But I started doing that and talking about the PTSD and working through it. And I am stronger today for that decision to do that and to ask for help. And if there's anyone in the audience who's like me and who is thinking to themselves, okay, but she had this really traumatic event that justifies her asking for help, I'm here to say the exact opposite. The reason I started my story when I was 7 is because I have needed help for a really long time. And that is part of who I am. And we all need help in different ways. And the best decision I ever made has been asking for that help and figuring out what I need and then asking other people for that. So it is for that I can come up here and say, hi everyone, I am Liana and I am a recovering perfectionist. Thank you.